Hey everyone, welcome back to Code with Poonam. It's day 87 of our 100 days of coding challenge in JavaScript. Today's challenge is all about to create an object where keys are the numbers and values are their squares. So let's proceed with this challenge and we will move towards our VS Code. If we see in the VS Code, we have here our question along with the sample input and output, right? So let us read out the question. We have to write a JS function to create an object with keys as values and numbers as their squares, right? And here we have been provided with the three test cases, right? So we are going to write a function which will pass all this test case. So now we will come down and we are going to break down our question. So first of all, what we have to write? We have to write here a JS function, right? So that I will put it over here. After that, what is the next important part over here? That we have to create an object with keys as numbers and values as their squares. So let us come here and that also we are going to write it over here. Okay. Now we will come at line number 12 and we are going to define our function name. So our function name will be what? Create square objects. Okay. So let us write here and we will put here our parenthesis also, right? So this will be our function name which we are going to use it. Okay. Now we will come to this input and output and we will understand how we are reaching to the specific output with respect to each of the input. Okay. So first of all, what we will do, we will just read out this line number 13. What it is been written that we have to create an object with key as numbers and values as their squares, right? So I will just assume here that our key is 2 right now. So what will be the value? Value will be nothing but the square of our key, right? So it will be 2 times 2, right? So we will get here what? 2:4, correct? Suppose I assume our key as 5. So what will be the value for it? Square of our key, right? So I will write here what? 5 times 5. So what we will get here? 5:25, right? Now we have understood how we have to form our key and value pair, right? But at the end of the day, we have to create an object, right? So now if you observe this, our final output now, what you have, we have here 1:1 and 2:4, right? So it is starting at 1 and it is ending at 2 and values are what? Just the square of their key. Similarly, if you check this particular input, it is nothing but 4. So it is going from 1 to 4, right? And the values are what? The square of their key. So 1:1, 2:4, 3:9, and 4:16. Similarly, at the last input also it is 6, right? So it is starting from 1 and it is ending at 6 and each value is what? The square of the key. So that is why it is 1:1, 2:4, 3:9, 4:16, 5:25 and 6:36. Okay. Now we have understood how we are reaching to this particular output, right? So now we will come down and we will write our approach on the basis of that. So let us come here and we will just write here what? Approach. Okay. First of all, we will come here and create an empty object and we will name it as what? Result. Okay. This empty object, we are going to use it to store our key and value pair. Okay. So I'm just writing it over here. After that, what we are going to do, we are going to use our for loop, a traditional for loop. So in that, we know we need to have our start point and we need to have our end point also, right? So what will be our start point? It will be always 1, right? We have seen from our input, right? That it is always starting at 1 only. And what will be our end point? It will be our input, right? So I assume that input is our end. So I will write here our end, okay? So now let us write our for loop. So I will write here what? For let I is equal to 1 and then I should be less than is equal to n, right? And I plus plus, correct? Now inside this flower braces, we are going to write a logic, correct? So that we can get the key as a number and value as their squares, right? So what we will do inside this, we are going to assign the current number as the key and its square as the value, okay? So let us see how we are going to write it. So I will write here what? Result of I we will write, okay? and we will write here is equal to, then I times I we are going to write it. So what will happen for each number, it is going to calculate its square and assign it as a value for the corresponding key in the object. Okay. So suppose if I give you an example here, our n is equal to 3. So what will happen? This loop is going to run how many times? We know 3 times, right? So we will get here what? 1 colon 1 we will get. After that, it will have 2 colon 4 and then we will have finally 3 colon 9. So this will be our final resultant. Okay. So in this, I plays a very major role. I represent here the current number which is being processed for the calculation. You can see here result of I is equal to I times I. So here we will get here what? Result of I means it will go 1 and it will come here and get assigned. Then it will do the calculation and it is going to store it here. And since it is an object, it is going to store it in a key and value pair. So that is what we are going to get it. And at last, what we will do, we are just going to print our result, right? So that will be our final object. So I'll just write here what? Final object we are going to get it. Okay. Now let us implement the same thing inside our function. So I will write here what? Function, and our function name is what? Create square objects. Okay. And now let us come down and quickly invoke it. So I will write here what? Create square objects, and we will pass our first input. Okay. That is nothing but our 2. So let us come here and write here as 2. Okay. And we will come here and we are going to receive it as n. Okay. Now just we will console it out. So console.log of n, and we will come here and run it in our terminal. So node 87 challenge and hit enter. We are getting our input number, right? Now we will come here and we will declare a empty object, right? So I will write here what? Result is equal to flower braces. Okay. So here we are going to use it to store our final resultant, right? Now let us write our loop. So we are going to loop through the numbers from 1 to n, right? So I will write here what? For let I is equal to 1 and I should be less than is equal to n and I plus plus. Okay. Now I will just console our I and I will show you. So console.log of I, and let us go to the terminal and write here what? Node 87 challenge and hit enter. Now if you see here, so in the output we are getting 1 and 2. That is correct, right? Because it is going to run from 1 to n. Our n is nothing but 2. So it is running from 1 to 2, right? Now we will come here and we will just calculate the square. So I am going to write here what? I times of I, correct? So our I is what? Our key, and our I times I is what? Our value, right? So let us see we are getting it or not. So I will clear the terminal and we will write here what? Node 87 challenge and hit enter. If you see you are getting here 1 and 1, 2 and 4. That means we are able to get the key and we are able to get our value also. Now the next thing is what? We have to assign it inside our object, right? We wanted in a key and value pair form, right? So what we will do, we will write here what? Result of I we are going to write, and is equal to, we are going to just write here what? I times of I. Okay, that is what we will write, and we will come outside our loop and we are just going to console our result. Now let us see we are getting our object or not. So we will come here and clear the terminal and we will write here what? Node 87 challenge and hit enter. If you see we are getting in an object form in an key and value pair. So if you see we have here what? 1 colon 1, 2 colon 4. So we are getting our exact output, right? Now we will just pass our 4 and 6 also to our function. So let us write here what? Create square object, and let us pass our 4 and let us come here and run it and see what do we get. So we will write here what? Node 87 challenge and hit enter. We got here what? 1 colon 1, 2 colon 4, 3 colon 9 and 4 colon 16, right? Let us test it out. It is exactly the same, right? Now let us pass our last input number, that is our 6, right? So I will write here what? Create square objects, and we are going to pass here what? 6, and let us clear it up and rerun it. So I will write here what? Node 87 challenge and hit enter. If you see we are getting here exact output. Let us just test it. 1:1, 2:4, 3:9, 4:16, 5:25, and 6:36. So this is the exact output which was needed. So we are getting for all the input numbers, right? Now we will just comment out this line number 30, and we are going to comment out our line number 34 also, and we will clear it up and we will rerun it one more time. So node 87 challenge and hit enter. If you see, we are getting just the output here. Okay. So this is what it was expected from us, and we have done the same thing. Now let us come here and we will have a quick recap of this particular question. So what was the question? We had to write a JS function to create an object with keys as numbers and values as their squares, right? And here they gave us the three test cases, right? Then we came down and we broke our question and we wrote the important lines of the question, right? And also we defined our function name as what? Create square object. Then we understood how we are reaching to this output, right? And we also understood how the key and value is getting formed right here. And so on the basis of that, we wrote our approach. So first of all, we created an empty object called as a result. And this was needed because we wanted to store our key and value pair, right? Then we understood that we have to write here a loop because we have to iterate here from 1 to n, right? That is where our start point was what? 1. And what was our end point? It was n. And considering that, we wrote our loop, right? Now here, what was our n? N was our upper limit of the loop, right? And what was the I? I played a major role here, right? Because I was representing here the current number which is to be processed for the calculations, right? And then we came here inside the loop and we assigned the current number as the key and its square as the value, right? And for each number, we calculated its square and we assigned it as a value for the corresponding key in the object, right? And we understood if n is our 3, then what will be the resultant of this, right? And then finally, we printed our result, and that is where we got our final object, right? Then the same thing we wrote inside our function, right? So at line number 29, we created our function with a function name called as a create square object, and we were receiving our input number as our n as a params, right? Then at line number 30, we just consoled our n and we saw that our input number is being received here or not, right? Then we created here our empty object and we wrote our loop, right? And then we just printed our line number 37 to get our final output. That is nothing but our resultant object, right? Then we came at line number 39, 40 and 41. We invoked here with three input numbers, right? Which we have been provided to us. And then we got our exact output, right? So let us clear the terminal and run it. So I will write here what? Node 87 challenge and hit enter. And if you see, we are getting here the exact output, right? So that is what it was expected. And we have done the same thing, guys. Okay. Now I will tell you guys why this challenge is useful, because it enhances the understanding of the for loop and object manipulation in JavaScript. It is useful for the scenarios where it involves data mapping and mathematical operations, guys. So that's all for today, guys. So keep coding, keep improving your JavaScript skills, and don't forget to like, share, and hit the notification bell for more coding challenges. And I will see you tomorrow with another exciting challenge. So thank you so much, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.